Most people think they pay interest only when they borrow money in the bank. And in fact, it is quite obvious that every producer of a good has to put the interest that he pays to the bank into the price. If you look at everything you need, people need to live, it's about 45% interest they pay for on average.
According to Margaret Kennedy's researches, the hidden interest on what we spend for our living is roughly 45%.
If you look at who profits from these interest payments and who pays, you can see, and you subdivide the German population in 10 equal parts, you can see that 80% of the people pay more interest in the prices. Those are the people who work for their money. And with 10% in Germany, it's about the same. They pay as much interest as they get from interest payments from their life insurances, savings, etc. And the last 10% get all that added on to their income from interest, which the first 80% lose.
Let's split Germany's population in 10 equal parts, using a scale of increasing wealth. The grey area is the interest paid in all prices and loans. The black area is the interest earned from monetary and real assets. According to Margaret Kennedy's calculation, the 80% of worst-off German population loses money because of this game. From position 1 to 8, the interest paid is more than what they earn. 10% of population, on position 9, gets the same money they spend. The remaining 10% gets all that interest which the former 80% lose.
So we have a constant redistribution mechanism in our money system. From 80% of the people who work for their money, they pay, to 10% of the people who can make their money work for them. And you have to own about over €500,000 in order to begin to profit from the system.
Finally, in Margaret Kennedy's opinion, what's the worst consequence of an interest-based economy?
The money system we have right now grows exponentially. In nature, that is a sign of sickness. The exponential growth occurs where things are out of order or are dying. And for instance, cancer is exponential growth. Out of one cell, you will get 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on. So it grows very fast. The reason why money grows exponentially is that we have one mechanism to keep money in circulation that is called interest. And with interest, money doubles in regular intervals. If Joseph, the father of Jesus, had invested 1 penny or 1 cent in euros at the birth of Jesus Christ in the year 0, and you would have paid interest on this 1 penny, about 5%, then in the year 2000, if Jesus had come back and could have gone to the bank and said, "Can I please have this 1 penny back?" with 5% interest, the bank would have had to give Jesus over 500 billion balls of gold of the weight of the earth at the price of gold in the year 2000. This is just an example to show that exponential growth cannot work over a long period. It can work in the short term, it can maybe work in the medium term, but it can never work in the long term.
Money is produced by as a loan mostly. In the OECD countries, only 3% of the money is produced as coins and notes. The rest of it is debt. And debt has to be repaid with interest to avoid getting inflation. Everything you use money for has also to grow at the same pace as you increase the money. And money has to be increased because you need to repay earlier years' debts with interest.
What are the problems with an interest economy?
The main problem is that it forces people to borrow more money each year in order to pay the interest on the loans they already have. if you don't do that, you have to cut your other expenses in order to pay the interest. And this means that you have to choose between exponential debt growth or an rapidly increasing unemployment.
Now in September the European Central Bank is going to raise again the interest rate on money.
Yes, and
they say to counteract inflation.
yes, and this is quite wrong. I've myself done statistical research about that in Sweden during a period of 20 years, and it very clearly shows that about 4 months after you have raised the interest, you get the top of inflation or price increase, and then after about between 8 and 9 months after a raise of interest, you get an increase in the unemployment, and this will have an impact on the prices downwards, but this downward is not so big as the initial rise of the prices. If you rise the interest by 1%, you will get an increase in inflation about 0.5%.